Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, December 31st, 2015. Join us for the next 45 minutes as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I am William Thio.
We are here to give you carefully gathered stories, assuring you of accurate, truthful, and balanced newscasts. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
We are also seen in 1,360 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through www.untvweb.com. And this is Why News. Here are the headlines. DOH officials make rounds in hospitals to check the preparations done for firecracker-related cases. Firecracker buyers are into last-minute shopping in Bocaue, Bulacan. The Bureau of Fire Protection once again reminds the public to refrain from using firecrackers.
Bus fares in the Araneta bus terminal go beyond regular rates. And Malacanang cites major accomplishments for the year 2015.
First in the news, the number of firecracker victims taken to the East Avenue Medical Center ahead of the New Year revelry is higher this year compared to last year. Grace Casin, tell us why.
The number of firecracker victims taken to the East Avenue Medical Center hours before the year's ends has been increased by 5 to 8% this year from 2014. The number of firecracker victims taken to the East Avenue Medical Center hours before the year ends has increased to 5 to 8% this year from 2014. Around 3 to 5 victims of firecracker have been rushed to the EAMC each day since December 2014. Most of the victims are children aged 7. The oldest is 58 years old man. Most casualties were caused by Piccolo, a banned firecracker. Dr. Alfonso Nunez, head of the emergency department, said their personnel and facilities are ready to treat victims of untoward incidents during the New Year revelry.
Kaya itong araw na ito ay puspusan yung paghahanda namin. Yung aming mga doctors, 90% ng aming mga medical staff ay naka-duty ngayon. Yung mga nurses namin ay naka-duty din at yung mga on-call staff namin ay hindi pwede mag-leave.
These tables are complete with medical equipment needed for treating firecracker victims.
Yung aming mga x-ray, CT scan, operating rooms ay sinigurado namin na magagamit namin lahat ito ng mga pasyente kung kinakailangan.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health continues to advise the public not to use fireworks and firecrackers in their celebration. Data from the DOH shows 351 firecracker-related injuries were recorded on New Year's Eve of 2015, which is 30% lower compared to 578 cases recorded during the same period in 2014. The DOH is hopeful that firecracker-related injuries will drop this year. Grace Casin reporting for Y News.
Meanwhile, the Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center is all set for the expected arrival of more patients. Joyce Balancio will tell us why.
The Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center or JRMMC is all set to accommodate incoming patients as more are expected to arrive as the year comes to a close. The treatment area as well as the anti-tetanus shots and surgery areas are now ready to aid firecracker victims. JRMMC also made sure that they have sufficient number of doctors, nurses, and medical staff who will be on duty until tomorrow early morning.
As you can see, we have prepared, meron kaming areas for treatment and a team of doctors is on standby para sa New Year's Eve mamaya. In one department, lahat sila mag-duty to prepare for the New Year's Eve. Pero mga 15 plus.
From December 21 until 3 o'clock in the afternoon today, there were 19 recorded cases of victims of firecrackers, a record lower than last year. Early this morning, 2 patients were taken to JRMMC, a 52-year-old man who was suffering second-degree burns and a 10-year-old boy who had wounds in his hand. Both cases were due to Piccolo. They were later on discharged from the hospital after doctors treated and covered their wounds and gave them anti-tetanus shots.
Sinindan ko po sa kamay. Tapos pumutok sa akin.
Nagpuputok siya, naputokan yung kamay niya. Makulit siya eh. Galit nga po kanina sa kanya eh.
Out of 19 recorded firecracker-related injuries in JRMMC, 17 are minors and mostly male. The major cause of accidents is piccolo, and most victims suffer from blast burns. The doctor offers an important tip to victims of firecrackers.
Wash it with clean water, iwasan yung paglagay ng kahit anong chemical, at punta agad sa pinakamalapit na ospital.
Joyce Balancho reporting for Y News.
The Department of Health, or DOH, has inspected several hospitals this afternoon to check the preparations prior to the expected arrival of firecracker victims tonight. Would you tell us why, Marge Navarro?
Health Secretary Janet Gerry made rounds at several public hospitals to check on their preparedness ahead of the arrival of firecracker victims during the festivities tonight. Among the hospitals visited were Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center, Philippine General Hospital, and the East Avenue Medical Center. These are the major hospitals where most victims are brought. The DOH first inspected JRMMC, where Secretary Garin checked the equipment and the hospital setup in assisting the patients. After JRMMC, the team proceeded to the Philippine General Hospital to check if the hospital has enough medical supplies. Based on the latest data from DOH, they have recorded 6 cases of piccolo victims. All are minors. Lastly, the DOH inspected East Avenue Medical Center. Aside from the DOH campaign against firecrackers, the agency has again appealed to parents to bar their children from using firecrackers. DOH also reminds the adults to refrain from using firecrackers to keep them safe from accidents. Marge Navarro reporting for Y News.
The Department of Health continues to promote safety measures against firecracker injuries. Joey Domingo will tell us why.
Over the years, the city government of Davao has been successful in preventing accidents and casualties due to firecrackers during the holiday season by prohibiting the use of firecrackers during the festivities.
Paigtingin natin yung ating kampanya laban sa paputok. Although dito sa Davao City, mukhang hindi ho tayo mahirapan. Makatulog tayo ng mahimbing.
On the national level, however, Dumama says the Department of Health intends to promote a safe and firecracker accident-free holiday season by promoting alternatives.
Yung ating pong kampanya ay may ma-focus sa pa-encourage na meron tayong alternative na gagawin. Yun. Katulad din nung lagi natin sinasabi, baka pwedeng turot-turot, mag-ingay tayo ng kung ano-ano, magtambol tayo.
According to Davao City Police Office spokesperson Milgrace Driz, there were fewer reported casualties of violators of the firecracker ban law this year compared to last year. Driz adds that the firecracker ban has already been a practice here in Davao City and that there were only 2 reported cases this year compared to last year. She stresses that even in cases of indiscriminate firing by policemen during holiday season celebrations were effectively resolved.
Meron tayong tinatawag na traditional muzzle taping sa mga baril. So with that, nakita natin yung implication niyan na effective talaga and wala talagang indiscriminate firing.
The Department of Health is positive that this campaign will continue to be successful this year. Joey Domingo reporting for Y News.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines warned soldiers against using their firearms in welcoming 2016. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Dismissal from service and cancellation of all benefits and pension. This is the highest sanction a soldier could face if proven guilty of using his service firearms illegally during New Year's festivities. The Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff General Hernando Ereberi warned all soldiers not to do indiscriminate firing.
So hindi po ito pagbabanta kung hindi ito ay kasama sa ating mga alituntunin na dapat sundin, kasama sa mga regulasyon na dapat sundin ng bawat uniformadong sundalo sa ating
AFP does not conduct ceremonial muzzle sealing unlike the Philippine National Police because soldiers need to stay alert, especially during their military operation, even during holiday season.
Kasi po naka-alerto po tayo at kinakailangan po na ready po ang mga arms na yan kung kakailanganin nating gamitin.
Colonel Padilla also said AFP has an alternative way of welcoming 2016, such as setting up an organized and common area for fireworks display at major military camps. Fireworks are also not allowed inside the camps.
Sa loob ng kampo po pinapagbawal po natin talaga na kasi alam naman natin na konting putok baka akala natin firearms ito, so makakapag-alerto to ng ating mga gwardiya na kailangan mag-ikot. So pyrotechnics, okay lang po yan, mga pailaw, wala po kaming nakikitang rason na ipagbawal yan.
Soldiers are also not allowed to bring their service firearms when they are on a holiday vacation. Meanwhile, the AFP Joint Task Force NCR is also on heightened alert in case PNP needs additional force in maintaining peace and security in Metro Manila. Grace Casen reporting for Y News.
The Bureau of Fire Protection continues to remind the public not to use firecrackers on the eve of 2016. Victor Casare, tell us why.
The Bureau of Fire Protection is constantly doing rounds to campaign against the use of firecrackers. Apart from motorcade, BFP personnel stops at communities to distribute posters of pertinent advisories to the public. The agency advises the public to use alternative objects such as toy trumpets instead of firecrackers when merrymaking. This is to keep the public safe from firecracker-related incidents during this holiday season. The BFP had recorded 17 fire incidents caused by firecrackers during the festivities beginning December 31, 2013 to January 1, 2014. From December 31, 2014 to January 1, 2015, there had been 18 firecracker-related fires that left 3 people dead and 6 others injured. But Bureau of Fire Protection spokesperson Superintendent Renato Marcial said, aside from causing fire, firecrackers have ill effects in the environment that further lead to health hazards.
At kung merong makakalanghap ng usok nito na may asma, posibleng ikamatay po ito. So dapat maghanap na lang po ng alternatibong pamamaraan sa pag-celebrate ng New Year.
Hindi kami bibili ng paputok, ibibili namin ng pagkain para makakain kami lahat.
Thus, the BFP is pushing for a total ban on firecrackers. In case it cannot be avoided, use firecrackers at designated areas only. At home, the public is advised to keep the windows closed to avoid sparklers accidentally being thrown in from elsewhere. Prepare water reserve if you have no fire extinguisher that can be used in case of accidental fire. The agency also advises not to light sky lanterns.
Ang sky lantern kasi pag sinindihan mo yan, hindi mo na siya kontrolado once na nasa ere na. At kung ito'y hihipan ng hangin, umiba ang ihip ng hangin, posibleng tamaan ito yung mga bubong ng bahay, mga kable ng kuryente, at ito ang magkukos ng aksidente.
The BFP further says not to pick up firecracker leftovers but instead wet them with water. The entire BFP force is on red alert on the duration of the festivities. Victor Cosare reporting for Y News.
The Department of Health has inspected several hospitals this afternoon to check the preparations prior to the expected arrival of firecracker victims tonight. Would you tell us why, Marge Navarro?
The Bureau of Fire Protection is strictly monitoring firecracker vendors in the province of Pampanga. The agency is also on full alert to ensure the safety of the residents. Based on experience, there are still last-minute buyers even up to midnight. At past 1 p.m., the BFP inspected firecracker stalls in the towns of Porac, Angeles, and Mabalacat City. The agency is making sure that vendors are abiding by the regulations, specifically the sale of illegal firecrackers.
Bukod sa no testing, no smoking, yung no selling to minors, then sa ilalim nito yung nakalagay yung mga pinagbabawal na putok na pinagbabawal na ipagbili o ibenta itong yung mga sumusunod na bawal na maputok.
Stores were also checked whether they have permits, water reserve, and bags of sand for emergencies.
Ang kailangan dito, meron silang tubig, buwang, at saka yung fire extinguishers. And then, yung importante, meron silang permit sa PNP, sa Bureau of Fire Protection, and saka local LGU, so Business Permit Licensing Office ng isang munisipyo o syudad.
In each area where stores are located, firefighters and fire trucks are on standby, ready to respond in case of fire. Marge Navarro reporting for Y News.
Meanwhile, last-minute buyers crowd firecracker stalls in Bocaue, Bulacan up to this hour. Thus, expect heavy traffic situations in roads heading to Bocaue. Nevertheless, traffic enforcers and barangay police are still visible to assist the crowd. Meanwhile, vendors say the prices of firecrackers remain high due to limited stocks, especially the likes of sparklers, rockets, and fountains. However, they assure that by 7 to 9 o'clock p.m. tonight, they will offer discounted prices. Compared to last year, the volume of buyers this year is lower according to some vendors. This is due to the ongoing government campaign against the use of firecrackers. Meanwhile, police visibility is intensified within the vicinity of the firecracker market in Bocaue to ensure that no illegal firecrackers are being sold. Firefighters and fire trucks are also on standby to respond in case of fire and explosions. Some dispatchers at the Araneta bus terminal took advantage of the holiday to impose a sudden fare hike today. Mon Hokson tells us why.
Only a few passengers can be seen waiting at the Araneta bus terminal today, unlike in the previous days when the terminal was so crowded with people bound for their respective provinces to celebrate the coming of 2016. At lunchtime, the last trip bound for Leyte and Iloilo departed with only a few passengers because the remaining seats were already booked or reserved. Some passengers are complaining about the sudden fare hike of more than 100 pesos, especially on trips bound for Bicol and Masbate. In the end, they had no choice but to go with it, just to get a ride and reach their hometowns.
Dati po, lang po inabot ng 900, ngayon 1,000. Okay lang po.
Ngayon nasa 750 na.
Okay lang naman.
Siguro, iba naman siguro dito, iba naman doon sa amin. Okay na lang para makauwi na kami kasi mahirap ipaliwanag ang nangyari sa amin dito sa Maynila. Gusto ko na makauwi na sa amin.
Dispatchers no longer offer discounted fares because the buses today are just doing extra service apart from the regular operation.
Sa ngayon po, medyo wala pa tayong discount sa mga pamasahe. Yung po nasa taripa pa rin sinusunod namin. Pag siguro kung maghina ng pasero at balik normal, ay magdi-discount po tayo.
Though some passengers have grievances, there was no personnel available at the LTFRB help desk. This is because they have conducted inspection only in the morning and will get back to work next week. The routinary drug testing has also been suspended and no first aid station can be seen. Only personnel from the Philippine National Police are seen visible in the area. For now, the Araneta bus terminal is preparing for next week's expected volume of arriving passengers who are coming back to Manila from their vacation out of town. Mon Hokson reporting for Y News.
Malacanang sees 2015 as a year of major accomplishments for the administration. Nel Maribohok tells us why.
Malacanang reported some accomplishments of the Aquino administration for the year 2015. These include results of the government programs which directly help the poor families and the decline in the number of Filipinos seeking jobs abroad that can be attributed to better opportunities available in the Philippines.
Tinanong si Pangulo dyan, isa sa mga nabanggit niya yung napababang bilang ng mga OFWs. Nabawasan na ito ng halos sa kalahating milyon. I think 400 to 500,000. Pangalawa, yung pagbawas ng mga pamilyang nasa antas ng kahirapan dahil dun sa Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program.
According to Presidential Communication Operations Office Secretary Sani Coloma, for this year, the out-of-school youths decreased in number because of the 4 Ps and the consistent investment grade rating of the country, which means the confidence of the international community in the Philippines' economic status. But other groups are not convinced of this report of Malacanang.
Siyempre, hindi naman totoong naramdaman yun. Hindi talaga nakaahon sa kahirapan yung nakalarami. Kumbaga pampaganda lang ng estatistika yung Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino. Ang katunayan, hindi naramdaman yung economic growth. Dumami ang bilang ng walang trabaho, dumami ang bilang ng nagugutom at naghihirap.
Also, Malacanang tries to provide solutions to traffic problems, especially in Metro Manila and nearby provinces. so they try to finish some projects to ease traffic problems. But Malacanang admitted that there are projects that will remain unfinished in 2015.
Unawain lang na ating mga kababayan na hindi ganun kadali yung pagbubuo ng ganyang proyekto.
To date, a total of 12 major infrastructure projects has already been awarded under the Public-Private Partnership Scheme. These include the Anghari-SLEX Link Road, modernization of the Philippine Orthopedic Center, Mactan-Cebu International Airport Passenger Terminal Building, and LRT Line 1 Cavite Extension projects. Most of the projects will be finished or will be inherited by the next administration. Nel Maribuhok, reporting for Y News.
A civil society group believes that the government should allocate more funds on health, education, and agriculture to alleviate poverty in the country. Ann Nunez will tell us why.
One of the problems in the country which remains stubbornly unsolved by the government until now is poverty. Under the Aquino administration, the 4Ps or the Pantawid Pamilya Filipino program was made the cornerstone of their approach to this problem. But in the latest SWS survey this year, nearly 6 of 10 Filipinos claimed they are poor. According to Social Watch Philippines, 4Ps is not so effective because it is limited to poor families with school children and pregnant women.
Paano yung mga indigenous peoples? Yung sinasabi ko na yung elderly, oo, at saka yung non-childbearing age, mga children who are out of school, o yung hindi nalista sa sa survey nila, hindi mapasama doon. So hindi natatarget ang lahat ng mga poor o mga significant portions.
In the group's opinion, poverty is related to unemployment. But before that, the education and health of the citizens should be first assured. They also said government policies should not just focus on primary education. It should give equal importance to tertiary education.
Kasi ang primary education hanggang grade 4. So i-assure natin lahat tayo aabot ng grade 4. Paano na? Saan ka kukuha ng presidente mo? Saan ka kukuha ng senador mo? Saan ka kukuha ng mga manunulat, ng mga philosophers mo? Yung gagawa ng awit, gagawa ng tula, gagawa ng movies, kung lahat tayo, karamihan sa atin ay grade 4. So kailangan isusupport talaga ang higher education. Depende of course sa kakayahan.
In 2016 national budget, Education Department was given the highest allocation with nearly 500 billion pesos. It covers elementary until high school. On the other hand, only 44 billion pesos were appropriated for higher education. This fund will be divided among 100 state colleges and universities. Social Watch Philippines also believes that in order to reduce poverty, the government should allot more funds to the agriculture sector to empower it. During the third quarter this year, the agricultural sector contributed only about 0.5% to the country's economy.
0.4% lang ang contribution ng agriculture. Diyan naman ang nagkaramihang mga Pilipino. So ang karamihang Pilipino, pinakamaliit na share sa GDP, 0.4%. So ang alternative budget nagpo-propose ng tama na pangangailangan natin.
Ann Nunez reporting for Y News.
Y News will be right back. Based on Pag-asa's forecast, cloudy skies with light to moderate rains and isolated thunderstorms will be experienced over Calabarzon, Bicol region, and northern Samar. Light rains will prevail over Cagayan Valley, while isolated light rains will be experienced over Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon. Partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms will prevail over the rest of the country. Sea crafts and small fishing vessels are risky to travel in the northern seaboards of northern Luzon due to the high waves that might reach up to 4.5 meters. Streets turn into rivers in parts of the United States Midwest, while flash floods in Scotland trap road users in their vehicles. Ann Nunez tells us why.
In United Kingdom, A lorry driver and his passenger were among those rescued from their vehicles as the River Nith in Scotland burst in banks on Wednesday, December 30, after heavy rains and gales from Storm Frank battered northern parts of the UK. Separately, 12 people were rescued from a bus that became trapped in floodwaters in nearby Ayrshire, both in southwest Scotland. Power has been cut to thousands of homes, forcing some to evacuate flooded streets in the third major storm in a month. The Environment Agency said Britain had faced an extraordinary period of severe weather and flooding in December, with consultants PwC warning that the latest deluge from Storm Frank could take to total losses above £3 billion. In Peru, dozens of residents from Peru's central Amazon jungle city of Tingo Maria in the Huánuco region were forced from their homes on Tuesday, December 29, after torrential rain sparked mass flooding and caused several streams and rivers to burst their banks. Aerial images show the flooded sectors of Afilador, Buenos Aires, and Orquídeas in Tingo Maria following heavy rainfall. Most homes became flooded by the overflowing of a nearby stream. The floods were triggered by heavy rains the country has seen in recent days. The World Meteorological Organization WMO has already said this year's El Niño is the strongest in over 15 years and could strengthen. In America, rain-swollen rivers in the U.S. Midwest forced the evacuation of hundreds of residents, threatened crops and livestock, and left scores of buildings underwater on Wednesday, December 30, after days of extreme weather in which 24 people died. Several major rivers, including the Mississippi, were expected to crest at or above record levels as floodwaters rushed towards the Gulf of Mexico. Flooding had closed many roads and parts of Interstate 44, a major artery running from West Texas to St. Louis. Water rose to the rooftops of homes and businesses in Missouri, where Governor Jay Nixon called the flooding historic and dangerous. About 300 people in Valley Park, Missouri, west of St. Louis, were evacuated because a levee that protects the community might be breached by the Merrimack River. Flood warnings were issued from eastern Oklahoma into southeastern Kansas, southern Missouri, central Illinois, and parts of Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, and the Florida Panhandle. While the rains have stopped for now, freezing weather is setting in, which will make the cleanup a difficult undertaking. Ann Nunez reporting for Y News.
Tennis stars Maria Sharapova and Garbine Muguruza arrive in Australia ahead of the Brisbane International Tennis Tournament. Meanwhile, Tiger Woods fans regret not having their idol match the accomplishments of Jack Nicklaus. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
As Tiger Woods celebrates his 40th birthday on Wednesday, he must be struck by the fact that time stands still for no one, and he will face a different golfing landscape when or if he returns to competition in 2016. Less than 2 years ago, and even as recently as last year, many Tiger fans still eagerly anticipated the day when, so they thought, he would match the record of 18 major championship victories held by Jack Nicklaus. Woods had won 5 PGA Tour events in 2013, and though major silverware had eluded him since 2008, there seemed no reason why he could not add to his haul of 14 majors as long as he stayed healthy. But everything changed in 2014 when, crippled by back pain that forced him out of a tournament in Florida, he underwent back surgery in the form of a microdiscectomy. He has never been the same since. Meanwhile, female tennis stars Maria Sharapova and Garbine Muguruza arrived in Australia on Wednesday ahead of the Brisbane International Tennis Tournament. Sharapova, the defending champion, has been battling injuries in the last 12 months and did not win a Grand Slam in 2015. Leg and forearm injuries prevented the 28-year-old Sharapova from playing in the last year's Grand Slam, the US Open, and she was sidelined for 3 months from competitive tennis after losing in the semifinals at Wimbledon in early July. However, she has a formidable track record down under where she is not only the reigning Brisbane tournament champion but also the runner-up from last year's Australian Open. The Brisbane International starts on Sunday and is seen as a warm-up tournament ahead of the Australian Open Grand Slam. Victor Cosare reporting for Y News.
The San Fernando La Union local government bestowed the Grand People's Day Award to UNTV and other non-government organizations. Would you tell us why, Mon Hoxon?
The local government of San Fernando La Union has recognized non-government agencies, multi-sectoral governance councils, and government bodies for their outstanding contributions to the city this year. The recognition was given during the celebration of the People's Day, Aldauti Pamadayaw 2015. Local government and barangay officials were also honored for initiating actions for the city's economy and tourism. Among these are Barangay 1, Barangay Madayegdeg, Barangay San Agustin, Barangay Sibuan Otong, Barangay Kadaklan, Barangay Pausur, Barangay Bangbangolan, and Barangay Lingsat. Each barangay received a plaque of recognition and 500,000 worth of projects.
Itong programa natin ito, itong People's Day, ito po ang panglima na itong taon na to, 2015. Ginagawa po namin to para abot namin sa mga nakatira dito sa San Fernando ang serbisyo na binibigay ng city government.
UNTV was also given the Grand People's Day Award for its unending support to the projects of the San Fernando local government and for helping the city's residents.
The UNTV station, Professor Ricardo Eres.
Ating ipinagpapasalamat na kinilala nila ang UNTV, isa sa kanilang katulong sa mga public services nila, na ito ay napakahalaga para sa kanila sapagkat ito ay isang paraan upang maipakita nila ang kanilang pagmamalasakit sa kanilang mga kababayan. Ang maasahan nila gaya ng advocacy ng ating Kuya Daniel ng UNTV ay patuloy na suporta sa kanilang mabuting adikahin sa mga proyekto, mga programa, sa mga public services na ini-offer sa kabuuan, sila'y kabahagi.
Mon Hoxon reporting for Y News.
Comedian Bill Cosby was arraigned in Pennsylvania on Wednesday, December 30, on charges related to an alleged sexual assault against a woman at his home outside Philadelphia in 2004. A judge set bail at $1 million. Cosby made a brief appearance before the judge in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania, but he entered no plea during the hearing. The entertainer, seen in television footage, dressed in a heavy gray sweater, carrying a cane and escorted by law enforcement officers, made no public statement when he entered or left the courtroom.
And Gerry, this is actually a very special newscast because this is our last newscast of Y News in 2015.
Yes.
Okay, and we would like to invite all of our viewers to watch our year-end special Repaso 2015 right after Make My Day.
Stay tuned for Repaso, everyone.
Yes, and those are the reasons behind the news December 31, 2015. I'm William Thio.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching
Y News.